Hi, I'm Miss Teresa with the Buck Springs Library, and welcome back to Foodie Friday. Today we're going to make a delicious blueberry French toast casserole. So if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so to make our French bread casserole, we're going to start with a loaf of bread. I did get this on clearance, and mine is a croissant loaf. You can use sourdough, you can use French loaves, you can use leftover croissant rolls, whatever you want. Just make sure your bread is kind of like the next day, the kind of a little stale. You don't want it fresh because it won't bake right. It'll just fall apart and end up being mush because it's going to be too soft, too fresh. So you do want something that is fairly thick in the width of the bread. You don't want just a sandwich loaf because of the thickness. You need that thickness for it to soak up that custard. Okay, so let me go wash my hands and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this loaf. Let me move my pan. And I just have a disposable pan. You can see it here. That way, if you're doing this for Easter, if you're doing it for Mother's Day brunch, it is something that you don't have to clean up. Throw it away whenever you're done. So, just get that going. And we're going to get the spray, and we're going to spray this pretty generously. I'm going to do this off camera because it's easier that way. Alright guys, so we're back. It is very generously coated, and we're just going to place that up there. Let's move that out of the way. So with this recipe, you're going to want to cut your bread into 1-inch cubes, and you're going to need about 8 cups of that bread, okay? No. Let's move some stuff. And I have about 3 pieces together. We're going to cut that. Alright, so I'm about halfway through my loaf. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to sprinkle in some of the blueberries and the cream cheese, okay? These are just frozen blueberries. If you can get them in season, great, because we are getting closer to summer, but they're not in season yet, so I need half cup. So the recipe calls for a whole cup of blueberries, but since I'm putting some midway through, I do want to put about half a cup. Alright. Put that back over there. Stop and stay. Alright. Now, the recipe calls for, don't get me lying on this, 4 ounces of cream cheese, which is a half a block, okay? So, because we're doing it halfway through, we're going to put 2 ounces. Now, if you love cream cheese, add more. If you're not a fan of it, leave it out. It's up to you, and you're going to measure with your heart, okay? So, but because I want the star of the show to be the blueberries and the French toast, I'm only going to use 2 ounces in the middle and then 2 ounces at the top, okay? And this is room temperature cream cheese. It would probably work better if it's frozen, just because it would be easier to break up and get into your dish. But I was kind of busy this morning. So all we're doing is leaving little dollops of the cream cheese throughout. Now, I got this recipe from Easy Weeknight Recipes. So it's an adaptation on hers. There's a couple of things we've changed, like putting the blueberries and cream cheese in the middle. She only puts it on top, but I like the flavor all the way through, so that is what we're doing. Okay, so we have half of it there, and then we're going to continue to cut the bread. I'll be right back. Sorry, I forgot my trash bag, so okay. We're going to continue to cut up the bread. Now this is very easily done. You can prep your casserole the night before, put it in the refrigerator covered, and then bake it the next day. We're not going to do that. We're going to let it set for 30 minutes in the refrigerator once we add the custard. That way all the flavors can marry together, and then we'll take it out, let it get back to room temperature before we put it in the oven, okay? So we have that. Now we're going to add the other half a cup of blueberries. Blueberries. And then we're going to do the other 2 ounces of our cream cheese. And since I already washed my hands and I'm not doing any more cutting, we're going to just pinch this off, put it on top, and then go wash our hands afterwards before we get ready for the custard. Okay, so I'll be right back. We're going to go wash our hands. So let me put some of this stuff up and clean up, and then we'll move on. Okay, so now we're going to start on the custard. So we're going to need a half a dozen of eggs, 6 eggs. These are large eggs. Just going to crack them in the bowl. Alright. We're going to add 1 3/4 cup of half and half. So 1 3/4. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now, on her recipe, it calls for maple syrup. I do not have maple syrup. I have pancake syrup. So we're going to use pancake syrup, okay? So, and it calls for 1/3 of a cup. You can use honey, you can use a sweetener substitute like monk fruit or something like that if you want. We're going to mix this all together, and then we're going to pour it onto the bread. If you think it's too thin, you can add a little powdered sugar to it if you want, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you. You want it so that it's loose, but it's not too loose. You don't want it like water. You do want a little yield to it, and I can feel that yield in there. But like I said, if you want it a little thicker, you can always add more. You can add powdered sugar to it. However, I think the powdered sugar makes it too sweet, so it's up to you. All right. So now we're going to take this and just pour it on top of our bread mixture. So that's the way it should look right now. Give it a little shake, bump it around. Make sure your mixture is as even as possible. Now we're going to cover it with foil, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. That way your flavors can marry and all your bread can get soaked in the flavor. Gonna get it with a good pat down with the back of our spoon. Once this has been in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, you're going to put it in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. Take the foil off and let it finish cooking for another 20 minutes, okay? But we'll be right back. Okay, we just got this out of the refrigerator. It's nice and cold. We're going to let it get back up to room temperature. At that point in time, we're going to put it in a 350-degree oven. I did tell you the incorrect times, so let me correct that now. The first baking with the cover on is at 30 minutes. Then you take the cover off and bake it for another 15 to 20 minutes uncovered. So we're just going to let it get to room temperature, and we're going to pop it in the oven. So we'll be back. Okay, so it's fresh out of the oven. You can see it here. Now we're going to sprinkle on some powdered sugar. I don't have a sifter or a small colander, so I am just taking a slotted spoon. I'm going to put some powdered sugar on there and just sprinkle it through. Alright, so there it is. And then you would just plate this up with some warm syrup or maple syrup, pancake syrup, however you want to do it. Just cut through it and plate it up. Thank you again for joining us for this edition of Foodie Friday at the Box Springs Library. I hope you enjoyed the blueberry French toast casserole. And until next time, make sure you like, follow, share. We love seeing your creations. Until next time, bon appetit.